HOA Karen vandalized War Widow's bench got fined and community ban. The spray paint hissed in the dead of night. A venomous sound that cut through the quiet of Willow Creek's Memorial Park. Karen Whitaker, self-appointed queen of the Homeowners Association, stood over the wooden bench. Her face twisted in smug satisfaction as she defaced the tribute to a fallen hero. By morning, the town would be screaming her name, but not for the reasons she expected. Willow Creek was a tight-knit community, the kind where neighbors waved from porches and kids played tag in the cul-de-sacs. At the heart of it all was the park, a green oasis with a single wooden bench dedicated to Captain James Harrow, a local war hero who died in combat a decade ago. His widow, Eleanor Harrow, had poured her grief into that bench, funding its creation with her savings. It was carved with his name, his service dates, and a simple inscription for James, who gave all. Every Sunday, Eleanor sat there tracing the letters with her fingers, as if she could still feel him. Karen, however, saw the bench as an eyesore. She'd been president of the HOA for 3 years, ruling with an iron grip over paint colors, lawn heights, and mailbox designs. The bench, with its weathered wood and slightly tilted frame, didn't meet her standards. She'd sent Eleanor letters demanding its maintenance, then escalated to fines when Eleanor refused to modernize it. To Karen, the bench was a blight on her vision of a perfect neighborhood. To everyone else, it was sacred. The trouble started subtly, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Karen began whispering to her HOA loyalists, mostly busybodies like herself, about how the bench lowered property values. She'd stand at meetings, her voice dripping with faux concern, saying, "We need to think about curb appeal." Most residents ignored her, but Karen wasn't one to back down. She started leaving passive-aggressive notes on Eleanor's doorstep. "Please address the bench's condition." Eleanor, a soft-spoken woman in her 60s, crumpled each note in her trembling hands. Her grief reignited with every word. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Karen recruited an unlikely ally. Tim, a teenage skateboarder who'd been on the HOA's bad side for years, was tired of getting citations for his ramp in his driveway. Karen cornered him one afternoon, offering to overlook his violations if he helped her send a message. Tim, desperate to keep his ramp, agreed to keep watch while Karen planned her attack. It was a deal born of mutual resentment, but Tim didn't know the full extent of Karen's plan. He thought she'd just leave a nasty note or maybe a small act of vandalism. He didn't expect a war. The maw of conflict widened as Karen's obsession grew. She started spying on the park, noting when it was empty, plotting her move. She'd mutter to herself about taking back control, her voice laced with a zeal that unnerved even her closest allies. One neighbor, Mrs. Patel, overheard Karen at the grocery store, ranting about that ugly bench and how she'd fix it herself. Mrs. Patel, whose son had served with Captain Harrow, tried to reason with her. "It's not just a bench, Karen. It's a memory." Karen scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Memories don't pay property taxes." Eleanor, meanwhile, was struggling. The constant harassment from Karen was eroding her peace. She'd stopped going to the bench as often, afraid of running into Karen or her cronies. Her daughter, Sarah, a fiery 30-year-old nurse, urged her to fight back. "Mom, you can't let her win. That bench is Dad's legacy." Eleanor nodded, but her heart was heavy. She didn't want to fight, she just wanted her husband's memory to be left alone. The tension simmered until one fateful night when Karen made her move. Under the cover of darkness, with Tim nervously keeping watch, she crept into the park with a can of red spray paint and a pocket knife. She didn't just deface the bench, she desecrated it. She carved deep gashes into the wood, obliterating James's name, and sprayed garish red streaks across the inscription. The paint dripped like blood, pooling on the ground. Tim, horrified, whispered, "You said you were just gonna tag it a little," Karen hissed back. "This is what it takes to wake people up." By morning, the town was in an uproar. Eleanor arrived at the park for her Sunday ritual and froze, her breath catching as she saw the wreckage. The bench, Her last tangible connection to James was unrecognizable. She fell to her knees, clutching a framed photo of her husband, her sobs echoing through the park. Word spread like wildfire, and soon a crowd gathered: neighbors, veterans, even kids who'd never known James but knew the bench as a place of quiet respect. Sarah was the first to confront Karen. She stormed to Karen's pristine colonial-style house, banging on the door until Karen appeared, her face a mask of feigned innocence. "What did you do?" Sarah screamed, her voice raw. Karen shrugged, her lips curling into a smirk. "I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe some kids did it," but Sarah wasn't alone. Mrs. Patel, the veteran in the wheelchair, and dozens of others had followed. The crowd's anger was palpable, a living thing that pressed against Karen's defiance. Then came the unexpected twist. Tim stepped forward, his face pale and his hands shaking. "It was her," he said, pointing at Karen. "She made me keep watch. I didn't know she'd do that." The crowd gasped. Tim, the kid they'd all written off as a troublemaker, had just flipped the script. Karen's eyes widened, her composure cracking. "You little liar," she spat, but Tim held his ground. "I'm done covering for you." The confrontation exploded into chaos. Eleanor, supported by Sarah, faced Karen directly. "That bench was all I had left of him," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "You took that from me." "Why?" Karen, cornered, lashed out. "It was an eyesore. This neighborhood deserves better than your sob story." The crowd roared in outrage, and for a moment, it seemed like things might turn physical. The veteran in the wheelchair, his voice booming, shouted, "You don't get to decide what matters to us." The climax hit like a thunderclap. The town's mayor, alerted by the commotion, arrived with the sheriff. Evidence was overwhelming. Security footage from a nearby shop showed Karen sneaking into the park, and Tim's testimony sealed her fate. The sheriff issued an immediate citation for vandalism, a hefty $5,000 fine that made Karen's face blanch. But the real blow came at the emergency HOA meeting that night. The residents, united in their fury, voted unanimously to remove Karen from her position and ban her from all community events. Her reign was over. The aftermath was bittersweet. The town rallied to restore the bench, with local artisans volunteering to recarve it, even more beautifully than before. Eleanor watched, tears in her eyes, as the new inscription was unveiled. "For James, forever our hero." Karen, meanwhile, became a pariah. Her once manicured lawn sprouted for sale signs, but no one would buy. Neighbors turned away when she passed. Tim, redeemed by his confession, was welcomed back into the community, his ramp now proudly displayed. As the sun set on the restored bench, Eleanor sat there once more, her fingers tracing the fresh carvings. Sarah sat beside her, whispering, "We did it, Mom." The town had reclaimed its heart, and justice, though painful, had prevailed. What do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved, or was the town too harsh? Share your thoughts below.